The F1 testing is over. And while on first look it might seem like Red Bull are again a step or even two ahead of their rivals, there is, however, one other team who I must say have impressed the testing, and that's not Mercedes as you might think. Ferrari did a really good job on the 3-day testing in Bahrain and are looking very good before the start of the new season. So much that we might even consider them rivals of Red Bull this upcoming season. How did they achieve this? And is this something that the Scuderia can build upon? Ferrari's testing started very positively, with Carlos Sainz stating that the first day was very optimal due to the car's reliable performance, completing 133 laps without issues, and the team also extensively adjusted the car's setup, which responded as they anticipated, so it was a promising sign. As Charles Leclerc also agreed with Sainz' sentiment, comparing it with the challenges faced during last year's pre-season testing. He highlighted notable improvements in the car's drivability, emphasising not only power delivery and traction but also the ease of handling, and while neither driver declared the SF-24 a dominant force, its consistency and responsiveness throughout testing were reassuring. Despite Sainz topping the timesheets on day 2 and completing a promising race simulation, team principal Fred Vasseur remained cautious about the car's pace, emphasising the improved confidence and comfort of both drivers as a significant positive. And although observers noted Red Bull's perceived superiority, Ferrari's performance indicated a competitive season ahead. Also, trackside observations from pundits further confirmed Ferrari's progress, with the car displaying poise, stability and improved handling compared to the previous year. And despite uncertainties about its ability to challenge Red Bull, optimism is very much present as the team hopes for a more intriguing championship battle, because Ferrari apparently progressed so much. The Ferrari from last year, of course, was challenging to say the least, particularly with rear-end instability and excessive understeer. So to address this, the team at Maranello aimed to improve aerodynamic stability and consistency, a key aspect evaluated on a gusty first day of testing, as both drivers noted improvements compared to 2023, which proved that there is progress in rectifying one of last year's biggest weaknesses. This ongoing effort, initiated with upgrades during the Spanish Grand Prix in June, signifies Ferrari's commitment to refining its performance, as the SF-24's improved balance and predictability offer advantages in tyre management and race pace. Ferrari's strides in addressing past issues, combined with continued development, instill optimism for the season ahead, although the true extent of the car's performance and development potential does still remain to be seen, of course. Vasseur was over the moon, and that might even be an understatement judging by his statements after testing. After one of the big weaknesses of the 2023 car was high tyre wear, which meant Ferrari was capable of challenging for pole positions over a single lap, but it couldn't translate that to the race. On Thursday, Carlos Sainz topped the day with his soft tyre effort, but both he and teammate Charles Leclerc have reported good feedback from the SF-24 machine, with Sainz consistently in the 1:38 region during a 17-lap stint, split into 2 on the final day. The team believes it is still behind Red Bull, but Ferrari will go into the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix as the second best team based on the evidence of testing and having made steps towards fixing its big 2023 problem. With the consistency and the race pace, the degradation that we had yesterday for the longest stint was on another planet compared to last year, Vasseur told F1 TV. At least on this we've made a step, but now it is not just a matter of being consistent but fast. We know that we always have to pay attention to the conclusions after the test. If you take the classifications from last year, day 2 or day 3, I think it has nothing to do with the classification of the Saturday of the race weekend. The most important thing is to trust the guys, because their feedback was positive and we've seen a lot of development for sure. I think Red Bull is still ahead, but let's continue to push and see where we'll be next week. Beyond the attention-grabbing lap times Ferrari posted during the second and third days of testing, once we go deeper into the analysis, we see some very interesting things. Comparing pace with Red Bull requires some assumptions, primarily regarding their respective fuel loads for low fuel laps, and while it's not assured, historical trends suggest similar fuel strategies between the two teams, so this assumption is drawn from past performances in qualifying and pre-season testing, where the gap between the two teams remained consistent. Additionally, variations in team programs and race simulations offer further clues. Examining single lap pace, Ferrari appears competitively quick, like last year's car, which often secured top qualifying positions amidst Red Bull's dominance. Adjusting for tyre differences, Sainz beat Perez by a tenth on day 2, with Leclerc trailing Verstappen by 2/10 on day 3. However, when considering Leclerc's performance on new tyres against Verstappen's used set, the gap widens to 4/10, including a significant advantage for Red Bull. Further analysis suggests a close competition among Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren and Aston Martin, with Mercedes closely trailing Ferrari. However, Mercedes, like in 2023, struggled initially to fine-tune their setup and their tyre pressures for optimal performance. While single lap pace wasn't Ferrari's primary weakness in 2023, their struggles emerged during race stints due to tyre degradation and unpredictability, and hopefully recent testing indicates progress in this aspect. A simulated race between Ferrari and Red Bull on day 2 suggests Ferrari potentially outpacing Red Bull by a significant margin over a full race distance, though such a large advantage does seem a bit unlikely. The disparity between Ferrari and Red Bull's performance raises questions about differing fuel loads or power management strategies. Leclerc's abbreviated race stint on the final day showed comparable pace to Verstappen, signalling Ferrari's closer proximity to Red Bull over longer distances. And unlike 2023, Ferrari seems to have prioritised race pace over one-lap speed, indicating a strategic shift towards challenging Red Bull on race days. But what really had F1 transfixed in the long-run stakes were the much more comparable race situations logged in the second session on day 2 by Red Bull, Sergio Perez, Ferrari, Carlos Sainz and Aston, Lance Stroll. The Green Team went its own way on tyre usage, sending Stroll out on the C3s, which are typically the medium tyres at most F1 events, to the C1s and then the C2s, which usually form the harder compounds selected for the race events. But Red Bull and Ferrari tracked the same way, Perez and Sainz moving up the compound order C3, C2, C1 over very comparative stint lengths in what were also near enough full GP length tests. And on each tyre, Ferrari led the way from Red Bull. Its C3 advantage was 0.450 seconds on the C2s. Sainz came in 1.152 seconds ahead, and with the C1s there was a 1.709 second gap. What's telling here is that those gaps are so shockingly big. It suggests Red Bull was running with even more fuel than its red rival, which should be considered typical, and such a swing from 2023. It's simply too unlikely to be the true picture. But Ferrari can take heart from one important aspect of these times. That's because although Sainz went from a 1 minute 36.725 second first lap on his C3 stint to a 1 minute 39.126 second stint at its end, on the C2s and C1s he was able to hit the same low 1 minute 37 second and mid 1 minute 35 second bracket even after a long stint on the harder compounds that have undone Ferrari in the previous year. Leclerc revealed in the press conference on the final day that the Scuderia feels it definitely did a step forward in terms of tyre management. This is thanks to its focus on having a more predictable and stable car design overall. "I am confident," Leclerc said, "because whenever tyres are more used, the weaknesses of the car are more apparent. You can feel them more, and with the characteristics of this car, it should be quite a bit better." Remember, it's the hope that gets you, and Red Bull was obviously holding back considerably in this test. Speed trap data suggests its engine may have been turned down for another dose of cold reality, but that's a real sign of progress for Ferrari. Whether they can keep this up, well, your guess in the comments below would be as good as mine. Let me know what you think, and thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.